picked up your teenager's phone because it was beeping nonstop and saw this text message, would you be alarmed? Probably not. Now let me translate it. What's up? Want to see something just between me and you? For your eyes only? Now are you alarmed? Has that got your attention? Now it beeps again, and you know you're fixing to see something that your son's girlfriend is sending him, and she does not want anyone else to see it. What do? Do you walk away? After all, it is a private message. Do you look because you're curious and you figure, what the harm? Do you look because you have the right? After all, you pay the cell phone bills, and you need to make sure it isn't something that you would disapprove of. Well, which is it? Look or don't look? As parents, we fight this dilemma every day. How much privacy does my teenager deserve? What if I told you this message could send your son to jail and put him on a sex offender registry for the rest of his life? Of course you'd look. You might even call her parents if you're not too ashamed or embarrassed to tell them that you had just looked at a semi-nude picture of their daughter. Guess what? It may already be out of your hands. Parents all over the United States are facing the crisis as we speak. Teens are engaging in what they think is harmless foreplay on their phones, flirting, so to speak, and they are breaking the laws while they do it. So the question is, what do we do as a nation to protect our children from sex offenders when 1/3 of all sex crimes are being committed by children themselves, according to the National Center on Sexual Behavior of Youth? In many states, youth sex offender laws require youth to be tried and sentenced in the adult criminal justice system. Once they are found guilty of whatever the crime was, they must be placed on a sex offenders registry. Only 20 states have instituted special juvenile procedures and age limits that can terminate his or her requirements after they reach adulthood. Some of these states allow the sex offender to be free from the registry at 18, and some at 21 years of age. Other states have policies that allow juvenile sex offenders a chance to petition the courts for relief from registration requirements. These states allow for a crime-free period to prove the offender is adjusted and stable. But what about the rest of the states? What is happening to our youth that fall on the wrong side of a cell phone message? Is jail or juvenile detention center really where these young adolescents deserve to be? According to the Campaign for Youth Justice, a nonprofit organization dedicated to ending the practice of trying, sentencing, and incarcerating youth under 18 in the adult criminal system, they believe that youth are in a developmental stage in their young lives and their original offenses are not fixed, so treatment geared towards juveniles is not only promising, but very effective. Fred Berlin, a psychiatrist and founder of the Johns Hopkins Sexual Disorders Clinic, says that research shows that the majority of juvenile sex offenders don't become adult offenders. Berlin believes that an adolescent should not be stigmatized for the rest of their lives by ending up on a sex registry. A professor at the University of New Hampshire Research Center and co-author of a study on crimes against children, David Finkelhor, states only 10% of juvenile offenders have signs of sexual preoccupation. According to Finkelhor, this is an indicator of a pedophile. Finkelhor believes that early sex education is the key to teaching boundaries and preventing sexual experimentation among adolescents. With so many experts and child welfare agencies weighing in on this subject, why are we as a nation having such a hard time coming up with laws that not only protect our victims, but also protect our young adolescent sex offenders? The Adam Walsh Child Protection and Safety Act may be one of the reasons. When the act was passed in 2006 and signed by President George W. Bush, it was to grant federal funds to states that required teens 14 and older to register if they commit serious sex offenses. Here lies the problem. States need the funding, so they require the registries. But the definition of a serious sex crime differs from state to state. Possessing child pornography in most states is considered a serious sex crime. which that can actually include your teenage son's girlfriend's semi-nude picture on his cell phone. What started out as a law to protect our children has now become a law that can harm them. In a push to get tough on sex crimes against adolescents, we are punishing our teenagers for normal behavior. According to the Juvenile Justice Center in a paper written for the American Bar Association on adolescence and brain development, we cannot expect them to understand their own culpability in these matters. According to this study, adolescence is a transitional period during which a child is becoming, but is not yet an adult. An adolescent is at a crossroads of changes where emotions, hormones, judgment, identity, and the physical body are in such flux that parents and even experts struggle to fully understand. With all this said, juvenile sex offenders, just like adult sex offenders, must be held accountable for their sexually abusive behavior. Holding an adolescent accountable for the rest of his life for an act of stupidity during a time that we as a nation recognize he or she is not even allowed to vote or sign a contract or get married without adult consent just does not make any sense to me. Does it you? Thank you for your interest in this matter.